So there's a person out there, his name is Mike Frederick. He's in his office actually, and he heard about the event through Twitter, and so he popped in from his desk, so he's sitting there, his boss doesn't know. He said, my first thoughts were directly toward the downtown and the waterfront. You gotta go back up. Which says, go back up to where I was at. So thank you. Go back up. Yeah. So this is a part of technology. Thanks, Andrew. Okay, go back. My thoughts went directly toward the downtown and waterfront. The mayor is correct with wanting to get more people, especially younger people, into downtown and to revamp it as a hot spot. Some great examples can be found downtown Dayton, especially their waterfront. And then, Mayor, one question for you, and then we'll go over to this table over here. One question for you, Mayor, is from, let's see here, same guy. He asks, he wants to know, what can we do to make downtown and the immediate surrounding area more walkable and bike-friendly?
Well, what we have done just about 3 or 4 weeks ago, we had the Green Conference here, where we actually took a tour in our downtown area to talk about how we can make it actually more user-friendly. And so what we're doing is we're taking those recommendations that were given to us, and we're trying to implement them with our engineers and the roads we're going to be building in the future. Just yesterday I was looking at a diagram of something that we want to be able to put bike trails or bike lanes in our streets, and the ones that we're going to redo. If we can get enough space and have control of that particular portion of the property without cutting off somebody else's property and making them mad, then what we will do is try to put in bike lanes so that people can move around a little bit more freely. We got some great ideas from the Green Conference, and just even being able to do something simple like putting bicycle racks in the downtown area. What I understood, somebody was telling me, he said, Mayor, do you have any idea what it takes to get a bicycle rack in the downtown Toledo? Because I tried to put one down here, and it's about 5 or 6 or 7 or 8 different things that you got to do, and then you got to go to this department, that department. I said, do you understand that? I said, no, because all I do is say, put the bicycle rack there. So it's sort of a different format for me and you. But what we need to do is that we have people who really care enough to want to do it in a way that's positive. And so what I wanted to do is be able to look at the rules that we have, figure out where we need to put these bicycle racks, because there are a lot of people that are starting to move in our, especially in our downtown area, with bicycles and just walking and just having a good time that way. So we know that we have to be able to implement that. Those are long-term goals, meaning that the more streets that we're working on, and we're working on a bunch next year, it gives us an opportunity to meet those goals of being able to make it more accessible for bicycles and people just walking. So that's what we'll do. Okay?
Thank you for inviting us today. Are you surprised that your parents are asking questions?
I knew when I came over here it was for my parents. I knew it.
Mayor, could you comment on how would you align the following different groups: the media, our business partners, elected officials, to reach the collective goals that are going to be agreed on after today?
Yeah, that had to come from my parents. Here's the thing. You know when they get aligned, when all these people get aligned? When you get aligned. When you start believing in the direction that we need to go, everybody else starts to kick in. Because then they understand that there is no benefit to not moving in the direction that the people want you to move in. And until we start doing that, all these entities will work separately. And that's why it's so important that you all show unity. It's that simple. It's not complicated. People run absolutely crazy and do whatever they want when they don't think there's anybody going to put any type of influence on them. See, people put influence on me early in my career. Okay? And so I'm sort of grounded and I know where I need to be, but that's what has to happen. This right here, you being in here today, trust me, it's being videotaped and it's going all over the website and everything else. It starts to make people understand that people have had enough of the BS. And we need to be able to move in the right direction. Okay? It's that simple. Next question. You guys have it? Okay.
I don't know if it's as much a question as it is some suggestions and comments. We talk about a lot of different things, and a lot of them are things that you already talked about, Mr. Mayor, adjusting the attitude to more of an outward or positive attitude for the city. We really need to think a strong marketing campaign and really market. We have such a great intermodal infrastructure here in Toledo that would be huge in drawing more business and industry to the area and help revitalize the city. And we think we need to capitalize more on that. On that, what we have here. Build the image up of Toledo so that there is more thought of Toledo than there are the 3 C's in Ohio. We don't have that image. They built those images, and we need to do more to build that image. We're not speaking loudly enough about our city. So we agree wholeheartedly with you there. We need more collaboration all across the board, schools, businesses, getting citizens involved in everything that we're trying to get accomplished and make the city grow and become stronger. A true, real collaboration. In other words, no more talk. Let's see some action, make things happen. Another thought and a suggestion was, you know, the SBA was pushing over Black Friday strong buy local for Saturday, that Saturday after Black Friday, buy local. The thought is why can't Toledo push a couple of days a year and have buy Toledo? Would build the economy immensely if we had some programs like that. So some things to think about and try to make happen.
Thank you. One of the things I'll say is that Rick Sale over there, I know I buy local because he gets all my money for breakfast. Okay? When I'm sitting in his restaurant, French toast and the sausage and all that. But let me tell you a little something too that relates to what you just said. There were 2 major events that happened here this summer. It was the Glass Blowers World Conference, okay, that came to Toledo, and Navy Fleet Week that came here. Now, here was the thing that was really interesting to listen. It's great when you got your own people talking about your city, but hearing these people that came into Toledo had never been here before. Some of them had never been here before. So we'll start with the people that were the glass blowers. They came into downtown Toledo, and they took it by storm. And they were all over the place just having an unbelievable time. And then I grabbed a couple of them, they said to me, they said, you know, Mayor, you know, this place is unbelievable. I said, well, why did you say that? He said, you know, I went to this restaurant downtown and I was able to get myself this huge burrito. It was so big that I knew this had to be a mistake, so I got 2 just in case I got hungry later on because there's no way you can sell it that cheap. He said, and then my friends, we went down to the pub. He said, we were drinking all night long, and I'm from Minnesota, and I know what it's going to cost. He said, and then I got the bill. I'm like, this is it? He said, I'm coming back to your city. He said, I'm thinking about moving from Minnesota and coming to Toledo. He said, next year, he said, my buddies and I, we've sat around and we've talked about this. We're supposed to be going to Boston next year. We don't want to go to Boston. We want to come back to Toledo. If you get people that believe in you like that, and then there were the Navy guys. It was unbelievable. It really is. It was unbelievable. But here's the thing. I talked to one of the high-ranking officials. I caught up with him before he went back to where his ship is originally docked. And I don't want to give his name because that might cause problems. I don't know. But what he said to me, because I went and purposely had lunch with him. I caught him up in a different area of the country, and I purposely just wanted to run down there. I said, so what did you think about coming to Toledo? He said, it was amazing. I said, well, you've been to this place, this place, this place, this place, all of them bigger cities, Milwaukee, Cleveland, Detroit, you've been in, what do you think? He said, all I can tell you, it is not Toledo. He says, when I looked into the eyes of people in Toledo, you could tell something was going on. He says, I have not seen that at any other location we went to. He said, my sailors all wanted to go back to Toledo. They didn't want to keep the cruise going any other place because the people here, and it was all of you, stepped up and made this an unbelievable destination point for those sailors. So if we can do it for the glass blowers, and we can do it for the sailors, why can't we do it for ourselves? That's what you're talking about. And it starts with being able to help local people. Next question, I'm going to go
Nothing like putting me on the spot here. I didn't have my hand up. I just smiled at him.
Oh, you were waiting.
Yeah, wait, yes. Well, thank you, Mayor. This is a great event. I've been participating in these since the summer, and it is exciting to see so many people here thinking about the future of Toledo. We were talking at our table about the opportunities coming downtown, and that there are so many things to do downtown, but that there are also gaps. And I was down here a few weeks ago with the Five Lakes Conference, and then I had something to do a couple hours later, and I wanted to spend a couple hours on Wi-Fi at a coffee shop. I couldn't find a place open at 5 o'clock in the evening to do that, go and have coffee. Now maybe there's a place I don't know about, but I drove around and I did find it. So there are opportunities here, and it seems like with all the people living downtown that we'll be able to bring people down who want to invest and make those things happen. We're also talking about an interesting conversation about driving to Ann Arbor for things, like going to the Arc or going up there for music in Detroit. And I'd like to see some of those things here, and I think there are more of those coming here, but one of the guys at the table said, but that's part of the regional economy, that we are living so close to those places that have great opportunities that we should look at that all as part of our city and our region, and that it's okay to go back and forth between the airport in Detroit and here in Ann Arbor. So that's a different outlook on it, that we are one of the stars in that constellation. But I'm curious, since you put me on the spot, what sort of incentives there are to bring businesses and young people down to invest and create businesses downtown? Or do we have plans for doing that? Are there marketing campaigns for people to bring their money in and start businesses? Incentives, thank you.
Well, one of the things that we're attempting to do, we brought in a micro-loaning plan, and you might have read about it in the paper today, and it's about entrepreneurs. We're looking at being able to figure out ways to help finance people so that they can come up with these great ideas. I had some young people that were in my office, and they were saying some things to me. They said, well, Mayor, there's a building down here on Madison. They said, well, why don't you just, if we were prepared to pay for it through shares, and we were prepared to fix the building, why couldn't you give it to us? Why couldn't you allow it for us, and then we'll create a spot for young entrepreneurs, and it would be like our headquarters. Well, first of all, we got to own the building. But the second portion of that is that there are young people that are thinking about ways to do this. The incentives, some of them come from the federal government, depending on what type of credits we got going. Some of them we have to just be able to create ourselves. I think that with what we have in the downtown area, some of the stuff is very, very reasonable to buy. And with the right group of people, not just maybe one person, a group of people, we could probably change the face of a lot of these different buildings, and it would not necessarily be able to, we don't have to reach out to somebody else. What I said to a group of business people about a month and a half, 2 months ago, I said, you all invest all over the country. Why don't you invest here? Why don't you take and put your money here? And I think that's sort of what you were alluding to. And why don't we figure out how to fix our own shit here as compared to taking it somewhere else? Why don't we figure out how to fix our downtown area or our parks or all this other stuff with our own money here because it's going to make money for us here? And you know what they did? They took me up. They tell me they got some sort of plan coming. I don't know what it is. They said, but we listened to what you were saying. And we know that we have the ability to start the investments. So sometimes we got to look inside ourselves to be able to do it. Okay. Yeah. Next question. Okay.
Bill. We had a lively discussion, and this is my first time at this type of an event. I'm glad to see it. I'm glad to see so many faces here. One of the things that we talked about, and I think I've mentioned it to you before when I've seen you on social occasions, I know I've talked to most of our council people, I really believe the best economic development engine in this city is the arts. And when you mention the fact that the youth want to come back downtown, and I'm seeing it, I own a business downtown, I have apartments downtown, and everything is clicking right now. But the youth who want to be downtown, one of the things that attracts them downtown is the arts. So my question to you, I guess, would be, I see a lot of suits in this room, and suits and artists kind of are on opposite sides of the divide. How do we create a venue or a way for them to become involved in this process? I don't know if Mark Volk is here, but a way for them to become involved and engage the arts, the artists, and bring the youth back into the process, because they really are what's going to drive the development of downtown. I believe that's the core, and I agree 100%. It will engage, or it will drive the rest of the city. So how do we bring, or do we create a separate event where we can bring the artists in? That's for you.
Let me just, thank you. Let me say this to you. We have the ability to do anything we want. Anything. That's what this is about. We can do anything we want. We're right now talking about the ability of how do we create galleries in the downtown area on the sidewalks and things like that. What we're trying to do, though, is we have to be careful of the people who have galleries. And so we're trying to figure out what is the middle ground, and we've been talking about that and being able to say, okay, if we can do this, we can create some energy and get some walking traffic in our downtown area. So we're looking at that. I can tell you that we're prepared. If people come up with the right ideas, we're prepared to do whatever it takes. I can remember we had one of our country western concerts going down at the Huntington. And this particular group, I think it was Blake Shelton. Anyways, what was happening was that they had said to us, they called the government center, he said, you know, what we want to do is we want to add another venue to this concert. And we said, well, what's that? Well, we want to have a street concert too before the regular concert. And people said, well, okay. So I said, well, what's it going to take to do that? He said, well, at 5 o'clock, we want to do this concert at 5 o'clock, and we want to do it on Huron Street. So you say, you want to do what? We need you to close the street, we need to close Huron Street down at 5 o'clock, okay, so we can throw this concert and be able to do this. So right away, inside government center, you know, oh my God, you can't do this. Why not? You can't do it, people are trying to go home. Like, I care about that, okay? So what we ended up doing, so then we get all this bureaucratic stuff that starts to occur. And this is why I'm telling you this, because it's bureaucratic, okay? We can do anything we want if we're willing to think outside the box. So my people come in and they say, well, Mayor, you've got to understand, you can't do this. It's 5 o'clock, people want to leave town and blah, 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 blah. I said, well, what do you mean you can't do it? Well, it can't be done. It's impossible. So I go back to my firefighting days. And I realized that if there was a fire on that building, down there, I'd shut that street down. And guess what? People would still get out of Toledo if they wanted to. So when they said that to me, they said, well, it's just impossible. I said, no, it isn't. I said, why do you say that, Mayor? I said, because it only takes 4 barricades. Do you guys get it? Yes, sir. But it's really going to take 6. Okay. But guess what happened? So they throw this concert outside. The crowd shows up. We got barbecue. We got beer. We got all these things going on. And there are people who are living in the downtown area walking around going, we've been waiting for this to happen. And guess what? They weren't 20-year-olds. They were 15, 60-year-olds. Going, this is great. My goodness, this is beautiful. Oh, you should do this every week, Mayor. Well, if I could get him every week, I would. But we've talked about the issue of being able to even do simple things. In China, last week, I'm looking out of my window, in one of the major parks, everybody's doing Tai Chi on their own, but they're all in rhythm. We talked about doing Zumba over in our 11th Square. We talked about doing square dancing in 11th Square last summer. Of course, when you start giving those ideas, people just go, well, yeah, okay, Mayor, fine, yeah. But it'll happen next summer, or there'll be some okay. They stalled me this year. I'll let them play through it. But it will not happen next year. Because I think there are streets that you can close off downtown with permission of the business people. That you can create some energy down here that will bring people down. All I'm looking for is the ideas, and it could be just in the way of art. It could be in the way of art. So we can do, and I'm just going to say this again, we can do anything we want to do. This is our city. It's not the mayor's city. It's our city. So if you guys come up with an idea, Mayor, why don't we do this? Why don't we try this? I'm sort of crazy. I'll try it. Okay? Let's give it a shot. Let's figure out how to make it work. But what I want to do is I want Harlem. No. Here's a guy that was with me last week. I know all of his deep secrets. But here's a businessman. And he saw something, and I just want you to explain it in maybe 2 minutes the part that you saw last week when we traveled. Because like I said, there were 20 business people traveling with us. But here's one that had a vested interest in what we were trying to do.
I could go on for days, but this maybe related to this conversation is most relevant. One of the most asked questions that I've gotten since I got back is, do these people really want to come to Toledo? You know, why would they want to come to Toledo? And there are a lot of answers to that I could give, but and I got asked this question by my brothers-in-law on my patio Thanksgiving night. And I just said, look up. You can see the sky. You can see stars. I don't think I saw stars in China one night. And we were out late many times, but not to be discounted in all that is just the beauty of our region and how clean it is and how green it is and the trees and the water. It gave me a new appreciation because, you know, I'm in the real estate business. I saw more buildings going up, more construction, more stuff related to the real estate business. It made my head spin. And, you know, you could be very jealous and envious of that, which on some levels I was. But, you know, when I came home and I realized that how much that simple little part of our life here in Toledo is to us and how much it means to them because they don't have it. That's one of maybe the biggest things I brought home.
Thanks. We have time for a couple more questions. Over on that range over there, there's a gentleman over there. Here you go, Mayor.
We're coming to the back after this one.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you all for taking our questions. My group, we think Toledo has the distinction of a big city attitude and a mid-sized city. So we're already there in helping to promote the big ideals of Toledo. With the big ideals, we did think of how do we produce local, homegrown jobs, and how do we produce local, homegrown companies to create these jobs right here in the city? Is there a concerted effort going on to create those local jobs here in the city? At the other end of that question was, is there an update from the Great Lakes Global Summit with our China and Toledo relationships in helping to create jobs and investment here in the city of Toledo? Thank you.
Thank you for the easy question. First of all, to get younger people, especially creating jobs inside the city of Toledo, they got to believe that you care. They got to believe that there's an opportunity here to actually create something. That's what we're trying to do. And it is actually tied into what we did last week in traveling across the China. I think people have mixed up the concept of what we're trying to do in some ways. What happened when we had that conference about 6 weeks ago? We had about 136 international representatives at the hotel. When we went over to China this time, when we got there, people were lining up to meet with people from Toledo. Lining up. And what they were talking about is how they could bring their business over here. Now the question is, why would anybody want to bring their business over here if you're doing okay over there? It's no different than U.S. companies going over on the other side. If you can bring the business over here, you can create the business here, you can actually put Americans to work creating the product. It probably is no different than anywhere else. Okay, right now, one of the concerns is, okay, well, this is a foreign investment. We have foreign investments inside our city already. We have Fiat that owns Chrysler. Okay, but nobody pays attention to that. It's no different. And why would they want to do that? Because the fuel of carrying stuff across the water and back is becoming expensive. And so the whole concept is to bring new money into the city of Toledo, and that's what we're trying to do. New money. Now, people have said to me, and I would just cover this real quick, Mayor, why don't you just travel domestically and go get businesses inside the United States? Why don't you just do that? Okay, I'll tell you why. Because the same reason I don't want somebody doing it to me. If I get somebody from Dallas that shows up in Toledo and steals 5,000 of our jobs and takes it to Dallas, it's a great day in Dallas when those 5,000 jobs show up. And tomorrow, it's a bad day for us because those 5,000 jobs left from somewhere. So all I've done is played the shell game in trying to create the economic development that's necessary. But if we go out and reach and grab people, and that's what was so great about having our business people with, they ran out of business cards. There are so many people that are now interested in Toledo because they had never heard of it before. The way this works internationally for us, and this is why we are not bigger than this is why we haven't grown. International people, they fly in. What cities are the most branded in the United States? New York, Chicago, LA, and of course we got to make a little stop in Vegas. And then we get on the plane and we fly home. There are no other cities in the United States. I'm telling you, there are no other cities in the United States. From our first visitors to now. When we go over there, they go, well, you know, we went to New York, we went to Chicago, and then we came over to Toledo. And we like Toledo better than we like New York and Chicago. We didn't know you existed. That goes back to the branding question. That's how easy it is. But you got to make the relationship first. Nobody's going to do anything. You all the business people in here, how many relationships or how many businesses have been successful for you when you don't start a relationship? Well, it's no different doing it internationally, and that was what was so great about having these 20 business people with me. They just knocked it out of the park because they were our credibility on the other side. That they rode over there and said, okay, we're willing to do this as American business people to tell you our story. And they listened, and they were all, every meeting we went to, people were lined up to talk to them. It wasn't about the mayor anymore, it was about the business people. It made it great. So we're working on that.
Hello. We have many successful programs for youth adults in the community. Is there a way we could develop a plan for individuals to transition into another program once they have successfully completed one? And provide contingency plans for when someone fails in a program, a way for them to once again regain footing, a safety net.
Thank you for the easy question. Once again, we can do anything that we want to do, but what it requires is a lot of people getting involved. I can tell you that in the governmental system, it's very difficult for us to cover every angle. Because what the problem is that right now with so many people hurting, the first thing they tell me is don't raise my taxes. Okay, so to create some of those safety nets, I need business people, which happened this summer. We had a job fair. And we held it down at the Erie Street Market. And we asked our business people here to get involved with it. And they did. Because why? We were concerned about these young kids this summer not having jobs. And we knew that they needed to get active in doing something. So we had all these business people that showed up and helped us out. But the problem was that we underestimated how many kids were going to show up. I think our first time out, we had close to 2,000 kids that showed up. They were lined up, some of them were in suits, and we couldn't get them through the right way. We actually had to shut down because we ran out of stuff. So what we promised to do is we said, okay, in 2 weeks we'll do this again. Guess what? The business people showed up again. And the students showed up again. This time we had about 1,500. And it worked. Know how I knew it worked? Because I saw one of the moms at the Erie Street Market. She was shopping at the market, getting some corn and stuff like that. And I said to her, I said, well, aren't you going to walk over to the, we got another job fair, aren't you going to walk over? She said, oh, my son's already been hired. I said, thank you, business people. So it requires everybody stepping up. You're hitting on a very good point. We're going to do whatever we can from the standpoint of government, but it requires people inside the system just creating maybe a couple little things to keep these kids employed and anybody else that's inside our system. I had a young man that traveled with me when I was running for mayor. This gentleman was homeless. He was staying down at the Church Street Mission. Chris came by my office. He said, well, can I help you? I said, well, sure. I said, but where do you live? He says, I have no home. I said, well, what's your story? He said, well, I was a Marine. He said, I defended my country. He said, and then the economy went bad. I lost my job. I lost my family. I lost my house. I lost everything. So what I did with Chris, and this is about helping people, is I had him come with me anytime I gave a speech. And by the time we got midway through the campaign, somebody had hired Chris. Now, what is the benefit of that? Chris now is married again, has a house, paying his bills, and now he's reaching back helping other people. That's how it works. It's about all of us helping each other. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. One last question back here. We're running short on time. So
I don't have a question. I'm talking about, I'd like to just comment about the branding that the mayor has been talking about. If you don't know about ToledoRegion.com, if you don't know about ToledoRegion.com, it's a new website that's been developed with an awful lot of work from a variety of agencies throughout the region. It's a great resource for people to look at. And I think it's something that needs to be advanced much more effectively. ToledoRegion.com.
We need to wrap. Do you have a burning question? No. Okay, so one last comment and question, Mayor Bell. And this has to do with the sheet on the accomplishments over the last couple of years, over the last 2 years. Could you speak to the progress you've seen your team make, your directors, commissioners, managers, the workers on the front line providing services to the citizens? Could you speak a little bit? This sheet highlights a lot of great work that the group is doing. If I've seen anything in my benchmark in the cities, the number one thing that will cause people to come here is if they have belief that the infrastructure, the government, the workers, the services being provided are being well run and run with integrity. Could you speak a little bit to the progress you've seen your team make?
Well, obviously, when we started, it was a little bit rocky because of a number of issues. But what we've been trying to do is, what I have done with my people is I'm challenging them to be the best out of anybody. And so to do that, they said, well, we need examples of that. And so what we've done is we've started benchmarking ourselves against other cities in the different departments, in the public utilities department, in the public service department, and figuring out, okay, if we want to be the best there is in the United States, in the city of Toledo, we want to be the best public utilities department, what does it take and who do we need to look at? So what we've done, is the first time that this has probably been done in our city, is we send a team of about 5 people to the various cities throughout the United States. And they have come back with some lightning ideas on how to improve the services that we're providing here. Part of the reason that we suffer is that we work inside a box, and we don't allow people to go and expand out and find out anything different. I can remember though, when I was a fire chief, it helped me when I went and talked to other people who were fire chiefs across the United States. I'd find out which ones were doing the best stuff. And then I'd figure out, okay, if I think I'm the best fire chief, I gotta be able to beat them. I gotta be better than them. And that's what our groups are starting to do. We've sent about 6 or 7 different groups out. They've come back with some remarkable information. We let them decide where they're gonna go. Now, nobody has gone to the Bahamas or anything like that, okay? Normally they keep it pretty close. They have gone international though. They went to Windsor and came back, okay? And they learned some great things there. But what they do is they read and they figure out who the best are at what they're doing, and they go from there. In fact, Tom, did you just get back? Tell them what you found and why you went.
Well, I'm with the Department of Public Utilities, and George Robinson, myself, who's the Deputy Director, and several other folks went to Cincinnati because we had gone online and determined that they had a best-in-class public utilities department, which down in Cincinnati is 2 different entities, but both managed by the city of Cincinnati. Actually, they're enterprise funds like we are here in Toledo, but 2 are under 2 different leaders and 2 different boards, and the county commissioners participate in the management of one of them. Anyway, to make a long story short, they have an outstanding, or 2 outstanding operations down there. It's interesting to note on the water side, they get their water, their raw water out of the Ohio River, and they dump their effluent that they treat into the Ohio River, as do all the other communities upstream. So it was very interesting to note that all we heard the entire time was, well, we never have a problem, frankly, very little time, passing rate increases, because the only thing they are worried about, our citizens, our customers are worried about, is water quality. It has nothing to do with price. Now, I will say they do an excellent job of marketing, and you heard that from a number of folks here. Marketing and attitudes, in my opinion, are going to be the things that are going to differentiate us from other communities. So, in short, they have 2 outstanding leaders. They have 2 outstanding entities down there. We've got a lot of information that we hope to bring to bear here in Toledo, Ohio, to, as the mayor says, become best in class in delivering your outstanding water and wastewater services.
Now, the final thing I want to do is I want to get Rose in here, and there is a group of young people, younger. I'm an old guy. You know, you cross over on the 50 side, you're the old guy. But there are some younger people that are doing some very dynamic things inside of Toledo. And sometimes we lose track of them, but they are a very, very large group, and that is the EPIC group. And what I'd like to do is have Rose explain to you exactly what's going on, because when people are asking about what's motivating young people, they're united. They're moving in a great direction. So I'd like Rose to speak on it. Rose?
Thank you, and thank you everyone for being here today. I am one of the co-chairs of the Emerging Leaders Future of Toledo group, working with all of these wonderful people. And we recently at the EPIC Summit spoke and had a very similar opportunity to have this same conversation. So each of you here, and one of the main things we saw when we were looking at that red, white, and blue sheet is 100% of the people who have attended any of these meetings, whether it was the emerging leaders or the established professionals in our community, is 100% of people want to better brand this community. And I think it comes from each of us, and it starts here, and it starts with our own positive attitudes. I was noticing as I was looking around the room, everyone's been very engaged and is really attentively listening to what's going going on and getting involved with our groups and our tables. And we want to continue to grow this, grow our emerging leader portion of this as well. So I hope that you can all take a little bit of this energy back with you, keep the positivity going, and continue to invite people to these meetings and these groups so that we can grow with all the conversations. Some people have concerns where all of our arts people here today and our emerging leaders, and we want to reach everybody. So thank you for allowing us.
Thank you. And you know, when we took the trip last week, we also took a young person with us. My name is Will Lucas. And we took him to China for a couple reasons. Because we were trying to open his mind to certain things. And he was a little leery about it when we got over there. But I think that if you talk to anybody that went in our country, and it was about these business people that didn't really know Will from anybody. And that's why I'm saying it's so important that the business people here figure out how to mentor some of these young up-and-coming people, because we're on the other side of the mountain, okay? And we need people who are going to be around after we're gone to be able to keep things going. Well, they took young Will under their wing, and I'm going to tell you what, he became the most popular person on our tour, okay? Because wherever he went, everybody went with him, and he loosened up the whole deal. So these young people, they think in a different way. They see things in a totally different way, and it's really actually pretty good. And so we just need to embrace that. From the mayor's office, we're trying to work a whole lot with Epic because they have a whole lot of horsepower, and we know that they're our future. So I just want to thank you. Before I hand the mic over to Steve, I want to thank you all for being here. We're trying to keep it timely because we said we would. I don't want to ever stand in the way of you and a bar. So I want to be able to make sure that people have a good time. The part that is important is that we really want you to stay and network for at least 15 to 20 minutes. Even if you got to go, just stay and try to meet some people. That's what this is all about, and it'll help us start to turn this thing around. So I want to thank Steve Cady. Would you all give him a big hand because he coordinated.
In the center of your table is a pink sheet here. If you could take a minute and fill out an evaluation. We tabulate this, we report this, it'll come back out to you. Also on your table is a place for you to sign in, a sign-in sheet. If you want to be a part of the conversation, get future updates, please fill that out. I'm going to turn it over to Jeannie, so I'd like you to quietly fill out the evaluation. And I'd like you to quietly add your name and email and contact information to the sheet so that we can keep you included. And I'm going to turn it over to Jeannie and Don, our co-chairs, who will tell you about the next steps and how you can be involved with our continued process.
Thank you, Steve. While you are all filling out your evaluations, once again, thank you for being here. So I have my question and a request. First of all, I'd like to know, did you like what you heard today? And if that was a yes, I want a thumbs up. If like you're okay with it, or a thumbs down. Come on, everybody respond, because we really want to say, all right, that's awesome. So here's my request. In January, we start some real work where we really put, the rubber meets the road. We're putting together action plans about how to accomplish some of the things on the red and blue sheet, because that's our roadmap to give to Mike to really get the city back where we really want it to be. So what I want to know is, everybody wants 2020 vision. We are creating Toledo's 2020 vision. We want every single person in this room to be part of that conversation. So I want you to think about that. I want you to join us at our January meeting and think about what you think your vision is for Toledo 2020. Don?
Thanks, Jeannie. I was just thinking as we're sitting in this historic building, in this beautiful building, that we had a historic meeting here. I don't think it's ever happened anything like this in Toledo that I can remember. There used to be a group of 100 business guys that were sort of leading this town back many years ago, and they were all very involved, but they didn't have what we have. They didn't have this emerging group of people following behind them, the young people that carry the ball after they started the ball rolling. So I think that's a huge difference in what we're doing today. And with your help, that will be obviously very important for as many of you to be involved as want to be involved. Hopefully it's been a little more inspirational than some of the meetings you might have gone to. I think we have an unbelievable future. We're going to start working on the 2013 plan, starting very hard in January. And as it gets to the middle of the year, we'll be working on the 2020 vision for the future. So we need as many people in this room who really want to be involved, who are positive about our community, to be part of this group. The future of Toledo is about you all. It's about your families. It's about your children. It's about your grandchildren. It's about what's going to happen in this town that's never happened before. And we need your help. Anybody's not part of the future of Toledo, we want you to get on board. And Steve, will you tell them how to do that?
So you got the sheet, put your name on the sheet. Two things. On the red, white, and blue sheet, you see the 11 items. That's a focus for 2013. In January, we're going to gather people who want to work on action teams to make significant progress on those items in 2013. As Dawn said, as we move into the latter part of the spring and summer, we're going to start engaging you all and leaders in visioning for 2020 and crafting that vision for the future of the city and region with the mayor and the Future Toledo group, and you are a part of that. So again, you'll be hearing about those two items as we go. I'd like to wrap up by saying thank you to a variety of people. One, we've got Andrew, and we've got people from the Department of Public Service who work out in the fields and doing all kinds of stuff. This guy right back here, wait. And he's back there. They're also now cross-utilizing the team to be a part of the social media and team that's helping to capture the story and tell that story. We've got Gail over there who's working and helping to set up the room and make everything organized. And we've got a variety of people. The Valentine Theater, thank you for making this possible. And last but not least, tip your bartenders well.